Hi guys, this is Simon with Trade and Perform Coaching doing today's trade review for December 3rd, 2013. So it was an interesting day and I'd like to pick up on just a few pieces from this morning. If you didn't see this morning's trade review, it is posted on the blog. It'll be the entry right below where I post this trade review. And so we talked about a couple of things. The first thing that we talked about was the volume profiles this morning. And in the volume profiles, let me see if I can get this here really quick. Okay, so the first thing that we discussed was on NQ, and that NQ was close to breaking its trend line, but it had not just yet broken it. It actually opened right on its longer term trend line, and then we've actually closed below it. So that in and of itself isn't anything significant other than it's something to watch, right? We can still trail a trend line right at the backside to new highs. So that by itself is never conclusive evidence. What was more interesting from yesterday was the fact that we had stopped doing what's called one timing on the NASDAQ market, on the NQ specifically. One timing is simply when the market fails to test below prior day's lows and it keeps one timing higher. So we stopped doing that, and that generally brings up an instance where we have a change or possible change in character. It can mean that we are going to roll over and go down. Often it means we're just going to start trading sideways, and I gave an example there of where we stopped one timing, which was right here, even though it was a very short period, right? And we went into a period of balance before breaking out again. And again, you can see that in the character here, right? We broke this one timing pattern, and we actually went on to eventually set new highs, right? But if you'll look, the rate of ascent had changed dramatically after this event, and we had quickly gone after 1 or 2 days into a period of balance. So there's nothing keeping us from replaying this exact instance where we come back up, we kind of dance on new highs, and we trade sideways for an extended period of time. We are going into the end of the year, and usually end of the year is bullish, but it doesn't have to be that way, right? Let's go look at the ES real quick. And now we're looking at the ES here, and you'll see we had the exact same situation. We stopped one timing right here, and we immediately had a change in character. The other thing that's been a change in character for the ES is if we pull this all in really quickly here, look how the rate of ascent is really slowed here, right? Just like we had a very rapid rate of ascent, and we've really just kind of petered out. The range has gotten smaller and smaller, and we've also stopped closing near the highs of days, more in the middle of the range. We closed in the middle of the range again today, right? And then the other part that I pointed out today that was important, the last couple times where we've had to pull back from the high, and after the one timing phase had ended, right? The pullbacks have been between 20 and 25 points. The high was 1812. The low today, I believe, let me take a look here real quick, but I want to say it was 86 and change, right? So 86 from 92, that brings us, let's see, 12, then 22, then we add 4, that's 26. So we went one more point in the 20 to 25 points I was discussing this morning. Again, one of the things that will really help with anyone's trading, right, is to have an extensive pre-market prep beforehand so you know what you're looking at, and so that you also keep your footing on the bigger picture of things, right? So we didn't quite get as extended as far down as I thought we would, and that's fine. You know, sometimes I do miss the mark occasionally, but we were pretty damn close. And in addition, right, if we look this trend line here, and again, trend lines are just pretty pictures. No one trades off of them. They don't mean a whole lot. They just kind of help you give some direction, right? But clearly, yesterday we'd broken this trend line and we'd fallen away from it. I would expect a backside test at some point, just like we backside tested it here when we broke out. I would expect a backside test, but it doesn't have to happen. Also, trend line wise, we could look something like this as well, where we just keep bouncing along the bottom side of this. There's lots of options that are available. However, what I'm trying to say is the nature has changed, but it does not mean that the nature will mean that we're going to go straight down, right? The bottom support still appears to be this 1770 area, with some minor support right here at this 1780, right? So in order to have any real damage done, we're going to have to get below 1770. Hasn't happened yet. Buyers are still in overall control. Pullbacks are normal, right? So don't go from the super bull camp to the super bear camp. I'd actually prefer, if you're working with me at least, that you're not in anyone's camp, right? Our intention is to be snipers and just pick them off as they show up, right? Today we picked off some bulls early in the day and we picked up some bears a little bit later in the morning, and that's how we make our money. We're not interested in where the market's going over time, and the reason for that, guys, right? I want to reiterate this to anyone who's new or listening, right? My goal is very simple: 1 to 2 trades a day. Anything else is gravy. 1 to 2 points a day, right, is all you need. 2 to 4 is fantastic, right? And then with a high odds win rate, consistent high odds win rate, right? All we have to do is increase our trade size as we move along, right? And protect our flank, meaning use our stops to keep us safe, and then only selecting the highest odds trades that are available to us, right? And not trying to capture the whole home run. We're just trying to get on base. Base hits win the game. They make you rich, and that's what you're in this for. Hopefully that's what you're in this for. Not everyone's in this game to make money, believe it or not. It's a whole psychological thing I'm not going to go into, but some people are in it for the action. Some people are in it for the bragging rights. I'm in it for one reason only, okay? I guess 2 reasons. A, I like it, and B, I find it very stimulating, the challenge of taking money out of the market. But the most important reason I'm into it, above all else, I wanted to get rich. I wanted to make a ton of money, and that's what I set out to do, and that's what I did. So let's keep kind of moving on here. And I apologize if we take a dip. This morning, if you look at the trade review, I had to pause it for longer than I thought I needed to because my dog decided that it was time to have a barking attack. So if we look at this morning, right, I was discussing how we were in this downtrend channel. But the one thing that I didn't want to do out of the gate, right, is I did not want to get short in the hole already, right? I either wanted an extension down for a rotation back up or a rotation up to give me a nice short location, right? And so if you look, we had the this was Globex high, this was gap fill. We were unable to hit either one of those, right? And if you look for the last couple of days, this area right here, this 97.50 to 98.50 has been consistently where we have reversed off of pull downs in the market, right? If you look yesterday, we came right into this area and reversed. So it made perfect sense, right? They were going to come into this 97.50 to 98.50 to test. I did not handle this trade as well as I could have. And I'm not sure if I just lost focus or it's just been so long since the downside trade has worked for me. I really should have left the trailer at 1800 or 1802 where I had it originally. And I really had a beautiful trade to the downside. Some of the other things that were a clue here was the inability to make it above the first push's high, right? That was another clue. And then we started setting lower highs and lower lows, even if ever so slightly, right? And you can see that we fell out of this channel that we started to create on the upside. So I think there was a combination of things that led to a good trade to the downside. One of the things that did throw me today, or one of the reasons I did keep the stop at break even, was first of all, the rollover did not go, was not a lot. Like basically 2 points was about as good as you could have done to get paid initially. And that was over the course of about an hour, right? The other thing is, and something that's changed today is every day in the middle of the day, we've experienced these grind ups, right? If you look at almost every chart starting around 9:30 to 10 a.m. right in this area, we kind of grind all the way up until about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and then the market would choose its course, whether it was up or down. Again, covered that in the market preview. This was a very different behavior than we normally get. So that's just a sign again when we stopped one timing the market, the characteristics of what have been we've been able to identify day by day in the market that have kept us safe. Those things have changed. So one of the advantages to knowing that is twofold. Okay, so sometimes you're going to miss the trade, right? But what we didn't do in the room, my trading clients, what we didn't do, right, is we didn't sit here all day and try to hold to the upside, right? We knew that there'd be a change in character. We didn't short in the hole. We didn't get overly excited to the downside, and we knew on the lift that we had good trade location. I think almost everyone pulled a short off up here and got paid, number one. The other thing is leaving a trailer here would have been rather difficult because we just didn't know that we were going to peel off to the downside. And gap fill is usually accomplished once we make it all the way up here, right? And it had taken so long to reject. Had it just rejected the first or second time, we'd have been fine, but it actually took 4 shots at it. So you just have to decide how you're going to manage the loss. For me, middle of the day, going into what is normally a grind up situation, right? I'm all right covering today. Nothing, it really didn't hurt that bad to miss that trade. And it shouldn't bother you either. It's just something new that we've got to learn, right? We go with the philosophy of if I coulda, I woulda. But if I can't or I didn't, it simply means I have something new to learn. And that something new to learn is that there's probably some new characteristics in this mid-morning, midday session. And we're going to have to learn those. The other part was coming into lunch, right? We had a rotation. My target to get long was down here at 1791 and was close to the low, but not quite. But it was also an excellent example of why I respect my stops. If I had tightened up my stops and said, well, I'm down 2 points, right? I'm down 2 1/4. It's probably going to hit my 4, which is often what someone who trades scared says, right? Then what occurs is they tighten up their stop, they take their loss because they feel better. It's not in the middle of a free fall, right? Because this always looks scary coming down. This is what it looked like on the chart here. Let me show you. This is this right here, okay? These bars on a 5-minute bar look ugly, and we took the long right here, right at the top. Stop was 2 points behind, right? So if you couldn't take the trade here, or if you stopped it early and tried to play with the stop, instead of having a win, you ended up with a loss, right? And then the next decision to make was, am I going to hold this or am I going to leave a trailer? My thinking was over lunch that we could have pushed back up into this 96 area, maybe even the 98 area. And so it was worth it for me leaving risk, just like it was worth it for me leaving risk here. And it's because I operate on one simple assumption. I just don't know what's going to happen next in the market. And I don't need to know. I can simply look at the spreadsheets that I've designed for myself and I share with my clients that tell me what my average trailer will make. And in this particular case, the way I decided to manage it, because we are in a new environment, at least from a day trading standpoint, was that I was just going to move the stops to break even. I was going to take no risk on the balance. And the worst I gave up was a portion of my profits. But I still walked out of here bagging a very nice profit and having good money in my pocket, which is, again, my only goal. I know that I'm not going to capture this whole move. It's not my goal. It's not my intention. I don't care. Moving on through the course of the day, right? The other thing that I notice here is that we do have this downtrend going, right? If you put it through right here, just like this, okay, which made this area. Often, if you'll draw the initial downtrend, right? If you can get a good stretch up and it matches in a zone with the trend line, right, it often makes for a good trade. I actually called this out near the close, but I don't fade moves, and at that point it was a move up. I don't fade moves in the last hour, and certainly not in the last 10 minutes. It's just asking for trouble. It paid this time, but my stats show it's about a 50-50 deal, and that's not enough for me to take a risk on. So looking at overnight, right? So we have a gap down and we have an open gap here. That means the first time we get up to this 1800, I would probably expect responsive sellers unless we gap above it, right? In which case I figure the first pull down might offer responsive buyers in that case, right? The next thing is we know that now that the 1786 area is relatively important, we want to hold it overnight. If it doesn't hold overnight, that 1782 to 1784 is next in play, followed by 1780, right? But there's really a pretty good amount of space underneath this 1789. It held this time. We'll see if it holds overnight, right? So the last piece that I would be very concerned with going in, right, is that I do not want to switch my mentality to a bearish mentality. I want to stay balanced, and I'm totally open to the market coming back in and us pushing back up to the highs. Top callers have failed to this point. Anyways, my name is Simon. I'm a Trade and Perform Coaching. I hope this helped some of the guys out. We'll see y'all tomorrow morning. Good night.